So I'm going to show the right length for setting up the Fifi hook and showing how that plays into reaching for pieces. So it doesn't really matter what the length is you start with for the webbing on the Fifi hook. What matters is after girth hitching it directly to the harness, not the belay loop, you have about the width of your hand, about 3 inches between the harness and the Fifi hook. But you don't really know the perfect length until you stand on the aiders. And so that's what I'll show you here. So what you want is once you, from about the 3rd step on these style aiders, you want to be able to just barely reach up and hang on the piece. What that means is when you then stand in the 2nd step, you get pretty close and tight into the wall, and you can reach up high. Now the problem is if you have the Fifi too long, and I'll throw on this extra beater just to kind of imitate a Fifi that's too long, and suddenly your body's way out here, your reach is now going to be limited by, almost by a half foot for every extra 3 inches you're hanging out here. So it's important to have the Fifi length so that once you're in that 2nd step, you're standing up, it keeps you relatively close into the wall, and you can reach about as high as possible. Now that's on kind of these Metolius aiders that are the standard aiders that most people use. These days I'm using these Yates ones, which are really nice. From these, you're in the, you want to be in the 4th step and barely be able to clip into the piece. And then once you go to the 3rd step, that's when you want it to be real tight, keeps you close into the wall, means that you have a good reach. Now there's a lot of different techniques for top stepping. On these aiders, you don't actually ever, I don't usually use the top step on steep terrain. I use the 2nd to top step. And the technique you use is I just use a regular length quick draw. You'll have to play around to get the right length, but usually just a regular length one works. You clip it to the belay loop, you clip it into the beaner that's connected to your aider, and then you sort of just walk up, and as you put more weight and stand up in the aider and kind of really push against it, it pulls you into the wall, and that lets you top step. Again, it's important to have this right, because if this were too long, I'd be way out here and I'd be losing all the top stepping advantage. But because it's the right length, it really sucks me into the wall. I'll show you the same thing using this kind of more standard Metolius aider setup. Here I really am going to be in the top step when I do this. I go into the 2nd step, I take the quick draw, clip it into the beaner, put my foot in the top step, and when I stand up, it really sucks me into the wall. It's kind of hard to hang out here for a while because it puts so much force on your foot, but this setup allows you to reach high. Since I'm only using one aider, it can be a little painful on the feet after a while. One way that you can deal with that is by taking the foot that's not in the aider and kind of sticking your heel and forming kind of like a little V with the feet. And that way you're sort of transferring all the weight from just one foot to kind of being more like 75% on one foot and 30% on the other.